Hello guys, welcome to this tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use the reduce array function in JavaScript. So basically the reduce method in JavaScript is used to iterate over an array and accumulate the value into a single result. So most times it applies a provided function against the accumulator, and each element in the array from left to right to reduce it into a single value. The reduce method also takes in a callback function, like most of the array functions we've been looking into, and also has an optional parameter that can be passed to it, an optional second parameter which is the initial value. The best way to understand a reduce function is to think in terms of a count. Imagine having a for loop and you want to count probably an occurrence of some value, or you want to calculate the sum, you want to calculate the average. So in the case of the count, that count there is the accumulator, and then you can also set the initial value. So that is simply what a reduce function does. It helps you to iterate over an array so that you can accumulate some values based on the condition that you specified. So let's take a look at an example. So let's say we have a array of numbers. Let's imagine we have this, and then we want to calculate the maximum. We want to get the maximum number. You can say const max is equals to numbers dot reduce. Okay, I would first like to create the function, the callback function, so that we can understand what is going on there. So we can say if function reduce, let me call it a reducer, and give it these specific parameters. So right here I can say return I can put a if check that if current is greater than max. Okay, return max, else. Okay, you can say here, let's return current value, it is greater than max. We want to return the current, okay, greater than accumulator, sorry, greater than accumulator. Then here we want to return the current value, else we want to return the accumulator. So we could have something like this, and then let's try to get our maximum number, say is equals to numbers dot reducer, and then we pass the dot reduce, the reducer function, and the initial value. Remember, this is the initial value. Remember, we stated it here. We have the initial value here in this syntax here. So I'm just going to open this so that we can see it better. And let's console log this. Console.log maximum number, and then let's attach it to our HTML. So I'll change this to reduce and save it, and then we want to do what? Open with live server. Okay, so it did open it there. I'm just going to copy the link here to open it, and then let's check the console. So you can see here we have 8. It returned 8 as the maximum number here. So we can also use it to get the sum. So I can say here, so to calculate the sum, I'm going to use a so here we're going to get, let's calculate the sum. Const sum is equals to number dot reducer. I'm not going to use this reducer. Instead, I'm going to use an arrow function. So I'm going to say here sum. Remember, sum is like the accumulator, and current number, and then we're going to say here return sum plus current. I will pass in an initial value of 0. So I could as well enclose this in a bracket, but it will still be the same thing. Let's just console log it. Console.log sum. So you can see here we have the sum here, and that is because we started with 0 as the initial value. So I can decided to add to this. Let's say we want to add 5. Of course, that will change the sum. That wouldn't be sum again. You can see he added the 5 to the total value. So basically, that is how the reduce function works. So I'm going to show you some couple of other examples of how you can use this in a real world example. So for example, the first example I'm going to show you, we are going to use it to flatten an array using reducer. Reducer to reduce function, reduce array function to flatten an array. So let's imagine we have this array here and we want to flatten the array. You can see an example here. So what we do here is remember, this is the accumulator. So accumulator and the current. So we are initializing the accumulator as the array here itself. Remember that this is the initial value. Here the initial value is 0. And remember, when I added 5, it added 5 also to the sum. So we are adding an array here as the initial value for the accumulator, and then we are now concatenating. This is another array function, concat. Maybe I'll find time to discuss on this. You can see it there. It flattens one array, 2 different array. So it takes the item in the array that is passed as a parameter and pass it into the array that is used to call the function, the concat function. So that is exactly what we are doing here, flattening the array. So if we console log this, console.log flatten array, we should get this array here. You can see we have the array here, the flattened array. So I'm going to go into the second example, which will be to show you how to use it to count the occurrence of elements in an array. It's like this. This AI is reading my mind. So basically, you want to, let's declare an array first. I'm going to add to this array. Okay, let's add Bob. So we have 2 Bob and 2 Alice. So const count name. We are not going to. Okay, this is supposed to be this, and we're going to initialize it to be an object. Remember, because we are dealing with objects here, we want to sort them out into an object form. So I'm not going to use this suggestion. I'm going to use a simpler suggestion, which will be accumulator current is equals to accumulator current, and then we're going to return accumulator, or we can just as well return it here. So I think I'll change this to, let's turn this to a arrow function, to a single line. What's it called again? So console.log okay, there's something wrong here. Accumulator this. Okay, I think I made a mistake there. We can't make this a single line. What's it called again? I've forgotten. Okay, it has to be like this. Then console log. Yeah. So checking this, you can see now it returned the count of each item. Alice is 2, Bob is 2, Bruce is 1, Thief is 1. So what we are doing here is, remember, this accumulator is an object. So we are creating this current item and then, checking if it exists. If it exists in the array already, we add 1. If it doesn't exist, we return 0 to it. So basically that is the simplest explanation of what is going on there. So another example I'm going to show you is we are going to be using it to calculate the average of numbers in an array, and then we are going to be using it to using the reduce function to calculate average. This AI is just reading my mind. So basically, to calculate the average, we can have something like this, where we have the accumulator plus current word plus the current word initial value. We pass in the 0, and then divide it by the grade length, by the length of the array. So we say number dot length So what we are basically doing is we are just, this is the reduce function itself, which we are calling on the numbers array. So what we are doing here is that we are just calculating the total, the sum total, and then we are dividing by the length of the array. So that's going to give us the average. So if we console log this, console.log average, we should get the average, which we see here is 4.5. Now the last thing is using the reduce function. We are going to use the reduce function to concatenate function. Why am I getting this spelling wrong? Function to concatenate what is concatenate the string in an array. So basically we're going to have an array of strings, which will be I'm going to change this to I love you instead of JavaScript. Okay, I think we can use I love you so much. Okay, let's add something else to spice it up. Say my angel. Now what we want to do is concatenate the string, so we end up concatenated array is equals to strarray dot reduce. We are not using concat this time. We are still going to check this for other function. So reduce this is not what I want. So I'm just going to simplify this further. Instead of having this, you can have accumulator plus word. Okay, that was a simpler plus word. So this will plus current. Let me say current. So this will concatenate it without giving us a space, without putting space in between the words. But if we want, let's see, you can see it here. But if you want to add, space, we can as well do that by adding a space here and then just adding a plus here. And once we do that, you can see it here. Love you so much. So these are the examples of how you can use the reduce function And this has brought us to the end of today's tutorial. Kindly like and subscribe to my channel for more updates on JavaScript, React, and many other different programming language updates. Make sure to subscribe and you turn on the notification icon. So see you next time.